Hello. Having some technical difficulties with the streaming, so I am just trying a different link. Technology, sometimes it cooperates, sometimes it doesn't. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get people on with this adjustment, but I appreciate those who are trying to connect, and I'm having a day myself, so it's interesting to try things that are different. Let me see what that looks like. Trying to get myself centered. There we go. Hi, nice to see you. Glad you found me. It is always an adventure with technology. You test things 3 times, and then the 4th time they don't work, and you're like, "What am I doing different?" I'm so grateful to have the time and energy to adapt and adjust. That is one of the things I've found has helped me with my time management, and I love the fact that time integrity can be a good part of my day. Weird that it made me adjust in this way, but since I've got one person on board, I know that the adapting is possible. What else is going on? I'm having a little bit of drizzle in my area, so that's kind of nice to see a little pitter patter outside the window. Even though it's pretty dark now, I can't see it anymore. My thought is to just get started, and then hopefully the people who tried to connect earlier who couldn't connect will be able to watch the recording because I'm hoping the content is pretty valuable. But I'm glad that I know one person got on. Let me go ahead and start this. And there we go. Me and my PowerPoints. I'm just such a weird teacher, old organizer logic that I still do them. So I hope the handouts were helpful too, because again, it's nice to have the resource later as well as now. So thank you so much for joining, and I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So, as I said before, part of my why is being here after my 15 years of teaching, mentoring, consulting, and doing other professional jobs. I really wanted to explore topics and resources that could help specifically a lot of women, but I'm open to helping anyone. Having clear goals, direction, and focus for where their lives are going to go during some of these challenging times and when they feel a little out of sorts. For me, I get stuck in the label of being stuck. Like I don't know what to do next, and I just want to figure out what's the best path forward and keep going forward, forward, forward. I know that's for me. Sometimes I can get stuck in the doingness of life instead of the livingness of life. So I'm grateful to have some time to explore this topic with you tonight. I wanted to start with a little calming breath work. I love doing the box breathing technique if you've done it before. So my thought is we breathe in through the nose and out through our mouth. And experiencing an insight timer meditation recently that used the words here and now. So I thought I'd combine that with something else that I know a friend here enjoys, which is a little bit of finger activation too. So let me put my fingers up where I could see them. So again, when we breathe in through our nose and we're just thinking the word or whatever, here. So here, 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 here. Hold for another here, 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 here. And then out through my mouth, through the with thinking the words now, 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 and then holding now, 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 now. Now, obviously, I can't do it while I'm doing all that demonstration. So I'll just try to give us a few seconds to kind of just do these deep breathings ourselves and see if it helps calm us and get us centered after me having a little bit of technology hiccups and anything else that might be going on in your day. So here we go. I just did it 3 times, and boy, I can tell that I got a little bit calmer and more centered, and that's very helpful after all the, technology hiccups. But I'm grateful that a few more of you found your way here. So I give you this as a thought to see if during the craziness of your day you would have a few moments to do some box breathing and see what helps you be grounded and centered. I just wanted to do it a little bit before the content because I find that it helps me absorb material better when I'm not thinking of my laundry list and my to-do list or dealing with the why in the heck didn't YouTube like me today? Um, anxiety. But thank you so much for exploring that with me. And again, you'll have the handout to try it any other time. For definitions, being a teacher, I always like to explore what are we talking about when we talk about time? And I love some of the definitions. Non-spatial continuum. So again, when life is happening to us, events, occasions, situations, how do we go from the past to the future and somewhere in the middle realize that we're in the present and that's what we have for now or here and now, what we were just breathing about and doing a quick centering breath. So I just wanted to explore time, but what else could we talk about? Maybe integrity. And for me, integrity can mean a lot of different things. Looking at some definitions, can it be the quality of my being, feeling complete, feeling centered, and knowing what's important to me, my morals, my values, and other things. Maybe we need to explore some values and priorities today. What's working in my life, what isn't. And then I love values and priority. Sometimes we attribute the values to being the money things. I can get the car, I can get the house, something tangible. But what about just the things that I care about? Truth, justice, peace, feeling calm in crazy times sometimes. And then for me, priorities can be what do I need to get done today? It could be something that I need to think of as important. It could be something that happens that needs to just be done. And for me, understanding these terms kind of gives me a common vocabulary to explore in this session, workshop session, YouTube, whatever you want to call it. So, my first exercise, and if you have your paper handy and you want to document it, was basically what do you want to shift? If there's a specific area of time, integrity, values that you realize maybe you've slipped out of alignment with. Maybe it's more of a I wish I could than I think I'm doing it already. And those are the things that I want to explore doing more of, making sure that I'm doing the important things in my to do list, not just the urgent things, because sometimes those aren't the same. And that's a sad thing. So let me give a minute to do that and take a little drink of my water. And if you want to chat and tell me what you're thinking of, what would you like to shift? For me, I think the biggest thing is feeling like I over prepare for something so much that when a hiccup like today happens, I'm like, what else could I have done? Overanalyze and get into the analysis paralysis almost, where I think, if I tested that fourth time, maybe then I would have known that I was going to have a hiccup. And why didn't the rebooting my computer work? And what else could I have done? But I appreciate you guys being willing to roll with the flow because, as a few of you know, sometimes that's not my go to. I like the structure and I like things to work the first time. And darn it, life doesn't always do that for me. So hopefully you got a chance to look at something that you might want to shift and think of what might be better or different. And then for me, the reason I set this up is time integrity to me is, am I using time in a way that reflects what matters to me? Am I balancing things in a way that keeps me out of frazzled mode as much as possible and shows me that there might be better or different approaches to problems than I have by my instinct? Am I willing to listen to other people's suggestions or explore other options? For me, pre planning usually works. Today's an exception, but so can life. And then I'm just worried about what values and priorities in my life am I not giving the attention that they need. So I don't know if you have those dilemmas, but for me, if I were to think about what drives me and matters most, what are the top priorities that I would want to explore today? It would be making sure that I can have time with my family and friends and yet find the centering time and the quiet time that I need so that I feel like I've recharged my battery to be able to support and encourage the people around me. Um, and I hope that you have something that would be a good thing to explore today or tomorrow or this week. And then the question for the next slide as you explore maybe these top priorities or values, because I don't know if you've ever done it. There's a few values assessments on the web that will really help you determine which ones are important to you. I always love thinking about just peace, love, and harmony. If I could have that in my day, I've had a good day. I can kind of go, yay, good job, Kelly. If you stayed pretty peaceful, loving, and harmonious, that was a good one. And hopefully you help other people with that also. And then for time, I'd also like to explore how to align my time better with these values, priorities, or what I want to get done in my life and my day. For me, barriers, challenges can include things like not knowing, not not considering what's important. I'm just thinking I've got to go to the grocery store today. I've got to get the food. I've got to change the cat litter. Those kind of things that are just the practical things that need to be done. But sometimes it might be that I'm not having firm boundaries. Um, I may be following into people pleasing, perfectionism, or feeling a little guilt or shame about the way other people have been treated by me, or the way that I've treated my animals or anything else. My dog loves me so much he jumps on me, and unfortunately that hurts. So I have to say no and push down, and that kind of feels like a rejection to him, and he doesn't understand that it's because it's hurting me physically. He's like 70 pounds, and it hurts when his claws and everything else come on me. So I'm not allowing the distractions of life to hopefully interfere, because I know that my to-do list for tomorrow will be different if I don't get it off my list today. And so how can I keep working forward? And what can I do instead was my question for this slide, because I think barriers and challenges are going to happen every day of my life. So I've got to learn to adapt and to work on that darn flexibility muscle, because I really think that's a muscle I've got to keep plugging at, working and developing. Am I proactive? I love to be proactive and try to test things early and do everything, but are they according to my values? Do I, make sure that they're aligned? Do I make sure I accept responsibility when I make a faux pas? I'm going to make mistakes. I'm a human. And do I want to acknowledge that sometimes I may have unintentionally caused harm to others and say, wow, I didn't mean that. I'm very sorry that it was, came across that way. My intention was X. And I'd love if we could work past this and communicate in a different way. But acknowledging that sometimes my words or actions can come across the wrong way to other people. And then how do I positively influence others? Because I want to. I want to be a positive force in this world. And then I love the term try on. If I'm willing to try on something different, give something different a try and just see if it works, because maybe somebody else's idea might be helpful to me. For the growth strategies, sometimes I like to make a decision making check in. Is this activity aligned? Obviously, like grocery shopping, I need food for tomorrow, so I probably need to go to the store. But I could pick which store I go to, how far I go, and what my budget is, and do I clip the coupons or what? I can also create boundary scripts ahead of time for when I'm working with my relationships. Sometimes for me, saying no is a difficult thing. If somebody asks me to do something with them, my immediate answer wants to be yes, yes, yes. But sometimes I need to consider and say, thank you for asking, but I can't do that right now. It's not going to work in my schedule. I still care about you, but that's not, not in my timetable. Or I love the quote of, that sounds exciting, but I'm prioritizing other things right now. Because you don't want people to feel, you don't want to reject people, but sometimes you need to set boundaries that say, I can't do everything every day. And why focus on my values, growth, and positivity? Because to me, that helps me get to sleep better at the end of the day, thinking I did the best I could and I had the best relations with people. And I tried to be my authentic self by knowing what was important to me and what would help me grow as a person today. Not just be the chug, 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 chug train going along the track and not thinking about where I'm going or why I'm going there. I hope that's helpful to you. For me, I also created a time integrity pledge. And I said, I'm committed to spending my time with intention and alignment to my values. And I want to have peace, calm, serenity, and truth in my day. How can I foster relationships and interactions with others with those in mind? And for me, I said, thank you, higher power, for guiding me in those directions today. And that was my time integrity pledge. Maybe you would like to write one for yourself and see how that feels for you. Because to me, that's just a little devotional to myself of saying, what am I going to do today that will make today a special day? For scheduling, a lot of times the concepts are, how am I going to prioritize things? I know I've got to get XYZ done today. What do I know that's important? And what do I know that's in line with my values? When they're the same thing, great. I get it done. When one is stronger than the other, I just need to balance and figure out how I can do that. And as many of you have heard, I love chunking, or time blocking can also be similar, where I group things that are related, and or dedicate a chunk of time to a specific task that maybe I don't want to do. Sometimes to me it's intimidating if I know I've got, a 3-hour thing to get done and I'm like, I don't want to do it for 3 hours. And my perfectionism can kick in and I can just do it. Or sometimes I can procrastinate like a human being. And so maybe if instead of thinking of it as a 3-hour thing, maybe if I think I'll do 15 minutes now and then work on another 15 minutes later and another 15 minutes, how can I allocate things differently? So I love looking at those expressions as possibilities. And when I was thinking about this workshop, I actually went back, and we'll talk about it when we get to the references. And I went back to some Covey stuff, because to me, the 7 Habits of Effective People, it really reminds me that I need to work on, how am I being both effective and productive with my time? How am I considering my integrity versus just doing, 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 and getting lost? And so again, this quadrant approach, which I gave you as a handout, um, will also remind me what's urgent, what's not urgent, what's important, what's not important. And it's not to say that I can't have some non-important and non-urgent things get done in a day, but if I spend my whole day there, other things in my life are probably going to suffer. So I loved the percentages that I think I went to a workshop for my corporate America jobs years ago that kind of just gave me an idea of I'd love it if those percentages worked out that most of my day was non-urgent but important. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like I get a little bit more than 20 to 25% of my day thrown into the urgent category of important. But maybe that's my perfectionism kicking in and I need to adjust that. But I love this frame of reference. So I wanted to include that and give you an option to start, figuring out what things you need to do for tomorrow that are in those different categories and what you might want to change. So, does that give you any ideas on how to shift things? What would you want to shift? I want to be better aligned with these priorities and values I described, that pledge that I just made to myself and to my higher power, that I might want to work on things that are helpful to others. I want to support and encourage other people. That's why the life coaching business. Um, but I really need to be ready to shift. And that means being able to try on different things and being comfortable being uncomfortable in doing things like when YouTube doesn't cooperate, where do I go? Now I will probably make a new list of how I could try to troubleshoot because I did not expect this problem. But life will keep happening, so I need to roll with it. And then as you saw in the handouts, if you looked ahead, I loved some ideas of how could I task organize my tasks in different categories for daily as well as weekly. And for me, it's like, what's my task? Put a list of numbers. I left 5 on this sheet, but I think I made it a full page on the handout. And then what a value or a priority is associated with that. Do I have an expected time? Do I know it's a 3-hour thing or do I think it's a 10-minute thing? And then how much did it really take? Because sometimes am I overestimating all the time or am I underestimating all the time? In which case, maybe I need to check my estimator because it's not working so well. So I love those kind of analytical tools where I can just do a little retrospective look and go, wow, that might help if I adjust a little tweak here and a little tweak there and make my life a little easier. And then for weekly, if you ever considered how do you align your work and your tasks with your emotional well-being, mental well-being, physical, spiritual, and then your general overall well-being, because you've got so many facets of your personality and your person that all need care and love and support. And if all I'm doing is doing all the mental, it's all just work week stuff. I need to get all these tasks done and ignoring emotional, ignoring spiritual, and ignoring my body, maybe, I probably won't be doing so well. And how can I balance and align myself better? So for me, what scheduling and analytical tool might I find helpful? That's why I created those spreadsheets because or those little handouts because for me, I wanted to align my time and my energy better with the values and notice where my estimation tool and my logic of how long things take were working and where they aren't. So that's one of my projects for this week. Once I figure out why YouTube didn't like me at first. But I appreciate if you want to document some of your options. And then for new actions, how about mapping out a plan for both tomorrow and for the next week? How can I do things a little differently? What am I willing to try on and see if it works better? And for me, can I implement one new strategy? Well, it just has to start with one new thing, whether it's like that, matrix from the important to non-important, or whether it's the values alignment or the time estimation. What one idea might help you? Because if you tackle one thing differently, you can try it for a few days and see what happens. If you try 5 new things all at once, you kind of don't know what helps because you're trying so many things, it's a jumble. Or at least that's my experience. And for me, I'm going to post that time integrity pledge where I can see it and remind myself that it's worth being aligned with my values and knowing what my values are every day before I start the craziness of my day. And then I think that it's kind of important to find what habits support your integrity. So for me, I think that habits can involve both my knowledge, my skill, and my desire. And obviously, habits are happening over time because I have past habits and I have the habits I aspire to. Sometimes I don't get both, but I want to work towards what works best in my life. And sometimes it can also go into categories of knowledge. Do I understand what to do? Do I have the skill to do what I think I want to do? And then am I motivated? Do I really want to do it? Yeah, I have this desire behind it. And that's where I think that having priorities and values that are aligned with what's important will help me stay motivated to say that it's worth going out on my walk, going to the Optum or the senior center and doing some exercise classes to keep my body, mind, and spirit working. Sometimes those sound healings are so good. So for me, it was like looking at what changes am I willing to make involving this concept of time integrity, and how can I hold myself accountable? Am I going to follow through with this, or is it just going to be, yeah, I went to that YouTube. She had technical problems that day, but it was still kind of interesting. Or I watched the rebroadcast a few days later, and yeah, it was cute, but nothing changed. Sometimes that happens, and sometimes you could pick it up in a month or two, and sometimes you could just, not find it helpful at all. And I hope that's not the case, but I'm offering options and I'm exploring ways that might help. And for me, having an accountability partner and or a life coach might be an option. So that's one of the reasons why I love offering the free workshops is it kind of lets me advertise, but it also lets me share resources that would otherwise, just be rumbling around in my head. And for most of you, you know that as a former teacher, I quote my sources. So the reason I love Attack Your Day Before It Attacks You was when I was getting my master's in e-learning, believe it or not. So it's really frustrating when technology doesn't cooperate. My master's program actually had me read this book and study before I started my master's program, which I thought was really good. So if you have a chance, you could check here in Phoenix, you could check Bookman's half price books, as well as, of course, Googling, checking Amazon, whatever, to find a used copy at an affordable price. But it is a really good read. And it's basically just realizing that we have options in how to explore our day. And a lot of the options I explored were from that book. And then, of course, as I've been quoting Covey for a while, the 7 habits of highly effective people can offer a lot of tools because, again, they're 7 habits that helped others. I love him and he and what is it, Hill and some of the other people. Um, these days, it's a lot of different resources, but a lot of people are quoting the fact that why don't we learn from what other people have done and grow through what they found helpful? And that's why I love reading books. So I'm very tangible. I still like to have a hard copy and I still like to highlight. But those 2 books were a lot of what the slides came from. So I hope you found them helpful. And my call to action for you is if you wanted to explore a life coaching session or schedule my free Get Acquainted, feel free to check out my website. I was grateful for those who were able to, adapt with me and come over to this platform. But otherwise, it's also fun to just explore things with people as they are struggling through life because I want to help people get unstuck from life's grinds. And the other part I want to say is, are there any questions? But thank you so much for participating. I'm sorry that we had the technical difficulties, and then I breeze through things because I get nervous when I'm frustrated. And most of you who know me know I don't have any trouble with talking fast. But if you have any questions, you can email me, you can type in the chat. Um, I appreciate the comment about my recovery because again, it's, you got to roll with it. Even if it's not comfortable for me, it's how can we keep going? And I hope you learned something and it's a little more helpful than just the tangible copies of the handouts that I supplied. But I want to apply things to life to make it a little bit better every day because I love the 1% suggestion, which is if I could make my day 1% better in whatever area I'm focused on, whether it's values, whether it's time integrity, whether it's, devotion to those, the emotional health, spiritual health, physical health, mental health, whatever area you might be putting lower on the priorities right now. If you could do that, 1% a day would add up pretty quick if you did it, that 21, 28 days to make a habit. That's a 28%. That would be helpful. Thank you so much for joining. And otherwise, I really hope that you learned something today. And this broadcast, I will send you the link because I know some other people weren't able to get back in. And that way you'll be able to watch it there on YouTube as a normal, just stored video. But thanks so much for your time. And I hope you have a great evening and enjoy this weather. Thanks so much.